Hi, I'm Leslie Weiss for Bead and Button Magazine. There's an incredible range of seed beads on the market today, and many different ways to buy them. This introduction will cover the types, sizes, and finishes of seed beads and how they are sold to help you find the right beads for your next project. First, let's talk about types of seed beads. The name seed bead covers any of these tiny glass beads that resemble the size and shape of plant seeds, but there are many types of seed beads within this category. Traditional seed beads are round in shape. They are manufactured in many different places around the world, but the highest quality beads come from the Czech Republic and Japan. Japanese seed beads are very regular in shape and size. They have large holes that are perfect for off-loom bead weaving, where the thread passes through the beads multiple times, and they have a slightly squared-off shape. You usually find Japanese seed beads sold in tubes or packages. Czech seed beads are oval in shape, with the hole running through the narrow part. They are usually sold by the hank and tend to be a little more irregular in shape and size than the Japanese seed beads. Variations of the basic seed bead include charlottes, which have a single facet ground into one side, two-cut or hex-cut beads, which have 6 sides, and three-cuts, which are tube-shaped beads with 3 facets cut into the sides. Japanese bead makers also make a very precise cylindrical bead known as the Japanese cylinder bead. These beads have thin walls and large holes, and their even size and shape creates a very regular fabric of beads when they're stitched together. Another type of seed bead is the bugle bead. These long skinny tubes range in size from 2 millimeters to 30 millimeters, and you can find straight, hex-cut, and twisted varieties. Cube beads, also known as square beads, are named for their shape. They are small cube-shaped beads. They come in sizes from 1.5 millimeters to 4 millimeters. Triangle beads are also named for their shape. Some triangle beads have sharp, distinct corners, while other brands have round corners. Drop beads are shaped like tiny teardrops and sometimes called fringe beads. Now that you've learned about the basic types of seed beads, let's move on to seed bead sizes. As I mentioned before, cube and bugle beads are usually labeled with their size in millimeters. Seed beads, cylinder beads, charlottes, and triangle beads are measured in a different way. The size of these beads is indicated with a number, followed by an aught symbol, or sometimes a slash with a 0. The higher the number, the smaller the bead. For instance, an 8-aught seed bead is larger than an 11-aught seed bead. Here are the most common sizes you'll find on the market: 15-aughts, 13-aughts, 11-aughts, 10-aughts, 8-aughts, and 6-aughts. Remember, the smaller the number, the larger the bead. The number assigned roughly correlates to how many beads are in an inch when the beads are stitched together with the holes parallel. So in this sample of 8-aught seed beads, you can see there are 8 beads stitched together in an inch. Beads can be different shapes and sizes even if they are assigned the same aught number. One example of this is different types of beads. These are 11-aught Czech seed beads, 11-aught Japanese seed beads, and 11-aught Japanese cylinder beads. See the difference in size and shape? Size and shape can vary by manufacturer as well. These two samples are both 8-aught Japanese seed beads, but they came from 2 different manufacturers and have different shapes. For some projects and patterns, you can substitute one size of seed bead for another as long as you keep all the beads in the same scale. So if a project instructions called for 11-aught and 8-aught seed beads, you might be able to substitute 15-aughts and 11-aughts, or 8-aughts and 6-aughts, but it would be inadvisable to try 15-aught and 6-aught seed beads because the proportions are so different. Now that you've learned a bit about types and sizes, we'll finish up with a quick overview of seed bead glass and finishes. First, let's look at glass type. The 2 most basic types are transparent or translucent and opaque. You can see light through transparent seed beads, but opaque seed beads are solid. Many transparent seed beads have a color or metal lining. Color-lined beads can be made of clearer colored glass with an opaque lining. Metal-lined beads have an extra sparkle because of their shiny lining. Some of these beads have a square hole, which makes them sparkle a little more. There are a few other types of seed beads that use more than one color. White heart seed beads have a white lining. Two-tone seed beads use 2 colors of glass, and striped seed beads are, as the name would indicate, striped. All these types of beads can have a variety of finishes applied to them. Aurora Borealis, or AB, is a light, iridescent finish that resembles an oil slick. Salon and pearl both refer to a pearly finish. Luster beads have a shining, almost sparkling finish. Gold luster beads have a luster finish with a hint of gold highlights. Satin beads have a striated appearance, and matte seed beads have an etched, frosted surface. Metal-plated beads have a thin layer of metal over the surface, while metallic beads have a baked-on paint or electroplated finish. The finish on some metallic beads can wear off over time. Galvanized beads have a zinc coating that gives them a metallic look. Like metallic beads, the finish on some galvanized beads can wear off. Another type of color coating has been applied to dyed or painted beads. These beads often have very intense colors, but again, they aren't always permanent. Lastly, let's talk about buying and measuring seed beads. Check seed beads are usually sold by the hank. A hank is a bundle of strands, usually 12 20-inch strands. Precious metal and Charlotte hanks are often smaller. Japanese seed beads are usually sold in tubes or packages and measured by weight in grams. The number of beads in a hank or in a tube can vary depending on the size of the bead, the type of glass, and the finish. The number of seed beads in a gram varies as well. Here you can see 1 gram of several different types and sizes of seed beads. There are many more beads in a gram of 15-aughts than in a gram of 6-aughts. You can measure seed beads in grams using a small kitchen scale. And this concludes our introduction to seed beads. I hope you learned something that will make choosing beads for your next project easier.